We will call the meeting to order at 6:32 this evening. First order of business is Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, give everybody a second to unmute. Okay. I pledge allegiance
to the
to
flag
the flag
of
the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible,
with
liberty
and
and justice for all.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody. All right. Next order of business is public comment. We do have a reminder here up on the screen about Zoom participation for public comment. So if you are with us tonight, if you could please raise your hand and then Devin will allow you to speak, and you will have the ability to unmute yourself at that point and share your comment. All right, I'm just going to ask one last time just to make sure. All right, excellent. Thank you. Next order of business is minutes. So could I get a motion to approve the attached February 10th, 2021 minutes?
Is motion approved, Wendy?
I'll second it. This is Sharon.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, unanimously approved. Item E on the agenda is correspondence received. This is in the time period of 2/20/2021 to 3/5/2021. And we do have those included in our agenda packets this evening from Brett and Wendy, some questions and comments for your review. And again, I always take the opportunity at this time to remind people watching, whether you're with us on Facebook Live or watch after the fact, please continue to use the form on our website to ask questions, and we will respond back to you to the best of our ability and provide that information for you. But we really appreciate that engagement, and we want to make sure that that continues as we move forward. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit more about plenty of other opportunities for the community to engage with the committee and ask questions as well, but that's always a standard opportunity for people to be able to get to us and ask questions as necessary. Okay, item F is our reports. First one up is chair report. I'm going to keep it very brief this evening. First comment for me is out to building committee and partners, and heartfelt thank you for your responses on the upcoming coverage for our engagement meetings with the community. So everybody was great in responding back and letting me know scheduling conflicts, those kind of things. And we have some great support for our many upcoming community engagement meetings. So I just want to make sure I say thank you to everybody for that. So, you know, there's a lot of activity between now and specifically May 11th for us. And, you know, we just gotta keep moving forward to that deadline, and that having that those responses from everybody, I think was very important. So thank you for that. You're going to hear a lot more about those meetings when we do the communications subcommittee report. So I'm going to hold off on providing any more detail because I think it's better if we hear all that information in context. But for me, that was really what I wanted to do, is extend a thank you out to the entire team for that support. Next report out is Town Council Liaison report. Chris, I'm glad you could make it with us.
by the hair of my chinny chin chin, trust me.
Yes.
I was still on the phone when everybody was congregating. But nothing significant to report. Obviously, we've been wrapped up in budget hearings and meetings for the recent past. But of note is that I am on an ad hoc subcommittee with Brian Connolly we are working with Joe Swecky to address potential elderly abatement and volunteer firefighter abatement issues with tax implications to help mitigate the cost of the project. We're undergoing that right now, and hopefully we'll have more to come on that. That's it.
Any questions for Chris? Nope. All right, great. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. Next order of business for reports is communications subcommittee reports. I'm going to ask Kat to start there, if she could, please.
Okay, so we met this morning. We had a meeting to kind of go over our overall communications plan. First is the presentations. We have a number of presentations coming up over the past month that Meg just talked about, and thank you to everybody for responding and making sure we have coverage at all of those. We are developing the presentation for that this week to finalize. We will, my goal is by Friday to get a training packet out to everybody. And that would include kind of a slide-by-slide overview as to what the presentation is going to look like, who's going to be speaking and when, just so we understand the flow of the presentation, and also provide talking points, referencing back to the website, as always, where all of our information lies. So look out for that so that you can review it before your upcoming meetings. I know we have East Farms on Monday, and we have Noah Wallace on Wednesday. So we start next week, and then we don't really stop until May. So we will have that to you. And as you review it, if you have any questions, we can do a one-on-one meeting to make sure you answer any questions you have, understand the flow of the presentation. If you need more clarification on something, we're here to help and point you to the source. So that should be coming to you this weekend. We also are, we sent out a newsletter. It should hit houses by this weekend. It has been posted on our website. So that gives great talking points, project update. It has the cost and tax impact, survey results. It has enrollment information, and it has that full schedule for everybody to be able to have. It's a one page, just take it out. It has the Zoom information, everything you need to know about our upcoming meetings. So take a look at that. And then the last thing that's really big, and we spoke a lot about this at our meeting this morning, is social media. We have a big campaign on our Facebook page, our Instagram, our Twitter to get people to these meetings, to encourage readership of our newsletter, to point them to the website, to learn everything you can about the project. So I will put in and distribute to everybody the social media guidelines that we developed, I believe, towards the beginning of this process. But we will distribute this again, just as a refresher when you are on Facebook, on social media, the guidelines for committee members. In our meeting, Beth and Ellen had some great discussion about, tips on how to interact. So Beth, if you want to reiterate kind of what you said, I think it'll be helpful for everybody to get some tips about engagement on social media.
Sure. So we talked about just how, because of the way we're focusing on Facebook, but obviously if you're a user of Instagram and Twitter, you'd want to, keep an eye on the posts and different things that come out and sharing those. But our focus really is on Facebook. We definitely have a lot of traction with Facebook. Kat was talking about the engagement. So we want to build on that. And the way Facebook works, unless there's a lot of engagement, even though we
Beth, I think we lost you. She usually comes back when this happens.
I know it does, yeah.
things that people can do to increase that engagement. And this is really for committee members, even PAC group members, and how they use their official pages to kind of support our Facebook page and other social media, and then just other supporters in the community. So I think the number one thing is to just carve out some time as kind of a one-time thing or periodically to just go to the Facebook page for the FHS building project and invite all of your local friends to the page. And then that increases the likelihood that things will show up on their news feed. And it's pretty simple, but if you get stuck, you can let me know. It's slightly different on phone versus computer, but there is an option to invite friends, and then you just easily go down and check boxes for people that you think are relevant. And then we have 4 events that Kat has put up on Facebook for the neighborhood meetings right now. Obviously, there'll be more listed on the page, so you need to watch for those. But for now, Kat and I talked about at least click on the event for your neighborhood meeting and then select going or interested for all of these events. Coming up soonest, so it's a good one to focus on. But if you live in that area or you know people who live in that area, you click on the event and you invite them to that event. And you can also share the events on your news feed. I wouldn't do this all in one day. I'd kind of stagger it so that you get more mileage from it, but you can share the events to your news feed, and you can share them in Messenger as well. So maybe as a reminder, as it gets closer, you might want to do those things. And then I think basically it's just that we agree to make a point every day, every other day, or as frequently as you possibly can to interact with the page. So liking all the posts as you see them come onto your notifications, or just go to the page every day and go through and like the posts that you haven't yet. Sharing the posts with your friends, on your news feed, you click share. It's better if you can include a short note, but you don't have to, just something positive. So excited about this project. If you live in this area, come to this event, or whatever is relevant for that post. And don't be afraid about oversharing. I think with these algorithms, you have to remember that not everyone is going to see everything that you put on Facebook every day. So you're not necessarily going to be bugging your friends or bogging up their news feed. And commenting on posts. So if the FHS building project posts something, actually what gets it seen by the most of your friends, and then friends of their friends, and it just can go on exponentially, is to comment. And it doesn't have to take a lot of time. It could be, great work, this looks great, looking forward to coming to this meeting, or I'll be there, thanks for sharing. Just a few short words. The way Facebook works, will put it in front of more people's eyes. And that's pretty much it. But it's going to take a bit of a commitment from us to help the page really do what it can.
Oh, Kat.
I think that's it for the communication aspect, unless you think there's anything else we missed or we didn't cover.
I don't think so. I think, most of this is preparation, as we talked about, around the communications plan. Thank you, Beth, for sharing those social media tips. And I think that's super helpful. And just so everybody's aware, really, just be clear that we're not asking everybody to go out there and create content or create complex posts. It's really just, you will see a steady stream of activity from the building committee pages and socials that you have the ability to share and comment on. And that's really what's going to be the biggest bang for our buck, is the more people we have doing that, sharing the content and getting people back to the website is our best approach, and the most effective use of, just being able to share the right information with everybody. So, as Beth said, we're not out to make everybody's hours worth of social media interaction work, but it's a few minutes of taking a look at the page, what's out there, sharing, commenting, and getting that information out. So, no, I think that's it, Kat. I think that was everything. Unless anybody has any questions or thoughts, or anybody else that was in the committee today, the committee meeting this morning, wanted to share at this point, I'll open it up for that too.
Megan, this is Michael.
Yes.
Do we collectively, as a committee, have any intention of writing a letter to the editor or individually as individual members doing something like that?
You know what, Michael, we haven't talked about it yet. And I think that's something we should discuss to say where that fits into the overall approach and, communication strategy. I don't know, Ira, do you have any thoughts around that as far as how building committee members writing letters to the editor for local publications?
Yes. You can have building committee members, you can have Board of Ed members as individuals who live in town, no matter what their position, can write letters to the editor. It can be from the PTOs, teachers. It's as long as they just they don't put their representation, they just say they're, a resident. So you can't put your title in there. You just have to put as you submit it in. The issue is that there's not many places where letters to the editor go anymore. And so because the current doesn't do very much on that, you might get one in there. I think hopefully we can get another article out of them. But in terms of the local media that you do, it doesn't hurt to try it. And look at some of the digital ones. I think, what was brought up before by Beth is the best network of here. It wouldn't hurt to have within some of the social media here, a comment or two from the building committee. I said, it'd be great for you to come out. We've been working on your behalf, those kinds of things. I guess it's tied to it. Michael, what you have in mind?
Well, I just wonder to what degree, people who have either participated in our meetings or stayed connected, I think have a pretty clear awareness that as a group, we are unified in our commitment to this project. But I wonder to what degree making a public statement about that as a unified building committee in support of that. Is there value in that either on our own webpage or any other place?
Well, it's already mentioned on the webpage in several ways. The introductory letters we're doing. I think it would be, if we get too kind of hyperbole and it's kind of, we start using too many adjectives, I think we make it pretty clear we're trying to take a position where the information is very objective. And obviously it's quite evident the building committee, the town, the Board of Ed, and other people in the town support the project. In terms of individuals, that's left to you. This is a case where email and social media, your contacts would, this is more, you treat it more on a personal level, Michael. So if you have neighbors and people who want to hear from you, that would have more of an effect than worrying up more. The website right now is action-packed with, hey, we're behind this. The whole site kind of promotes it. And then, but you and everyone who's on the call, if you're very supportive of it, send a quick, email or on your social media. I don't know if you're aware of it, but this is a project and just pay attention. If you haven't registered to vote, please vote, that kind of thing. That would be the best help, Michael.
Thank you.
One of the other municipalities we're working with is doing this. It's on a much smaller project, writing letters to the editor of the local paper. And they have elected to sort of each pick a topic that's important to them as part of that project. So, and then focus on that one topic. So each letter is not the same information. It focuses on different topics about their particular project. And so as another way to just kind of, get that information out.
Yeah, some of the local media has, online, you might get a better shot of getting a letter to the editor versus trying to deal with the printed versions. I looked at all your media, it's just not many outlets where they do letters to the editor like they used to. I mean, the current used to have a separate section for each town, and they don't even do that anymore. Mm-hmm. So that's why I keep going back to the website is basically your newspaper. And doesn't hurt to try. Every letter, who knows, you can work with themes or whatever. I think, what Ellen brought up, the more personalized you get information out in a town like Farmington, probably be more effective. I'm sorry what Beth said, and Ellen.
And then this is Beth. Ira, what do you think about timing if we were to do something for that and along those lines?
Yeah, we had this discussion in the subcommittee. the most effective way of getting things done is 2 weeks prior to the referendum vote. No one's going to be paying attention too much other than you folks and some other interest groups. The most effective way, and then on the week before, that's when, you know, people who are interested go door to door. It gets more personal. You just build up kind of the, so we have plenty of information, and what happens after the posting of the referendum depends on the other groups, what they want to do, going door to door and stuff like that. But it's actually 2 weeks prior to referendum when people start, the general community starts paying attention. Not you folks. You folks have been paying attention to this for years. And it's the other folks and the people on here. It's the ones who are, they kind of heard about it. Yeah, they got a newsletter. Yeah, it's kind of that. Now you got to get them to understand what it is, and hopefully they'll come out and vote.
This is Wendy. I just gonna mention, I agree with Michael. I like the idea of writing to the editor. And I heard you mention the Hartford Courant several times, but I think we have a very popular Valley Press newspaper that a lot of local people in this community read. So I think it would be of great value if something like this was done. And I know myself, I read almost every article in there, including the editor things. And I know there's also a subpopulation that's not on Facebook or on social media. And I know that they look to this type of media for their information.
Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with using the Valley Press. They'll, you know, maybe they'll give you 4 to 6 letters, one a week or so, whenever they publish. And then, you know, the monthly one you'd have to get in right now because they work a month ahead. The Valley Press is a little more recent. Yeah, there's nothing wrong doing that. I mean, there is obviously readership there, but you know, it's I think in this case, it's always good wherever you can get the outlet and do it. What I'll do is I'll check with them to see how, you know, what they're scheduling about posting similar topics. They sometimes have policies on this, but I'll look and see what their policy is one day.
And Ira, am I hearing you correctly that if we make a post on either social media or in the newspaper, we're not to indicate that we are members of the building committee?
But you can do that now. You can say, you know, as you as a building committee member can do it, but you can't speak on behalf of the committee. Only the committee function at, it's like a Board of Ed meeting. They only can talk on their Board of Ed meeting. It's the same with town council. When you're officially representing the group, you know, that has to be a statement that come from Meg and the committee that would be posted as a general announcement. But to support as an individual member, you can do that.
Yeah, so you don't have an objection if in a social media post or if a letter to the editor that we indicate that we are a member.
Well, for example, you say, "Hi, I'm Michael Smith. I'm a member of the building committee or a board member. As you may or may not know, there's a high school project going on here, and we're hope you can support us doing it." That kind of way is fine to write it that way.
Does that help, Michael?
It does, thank you.
All right, great. Any other questions or?
Hey, Meg, this is Ellen. Just
Yes.
It's a small thing, but I think maybe it's potentially something that you might want to include in your chair report this week and ongoing. There are links to our social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, but maybe we could spell them out like we were. Because if you check them, they're not everyone is on them. And it might help. Might help the community too.
That's a good point.
Yeah, we can do that, right, Devin, as part of the chair report following this meeting?
Yeah,
definitely.
Thank you.
Also, there's one other group, I mentioned this to Scott, is he sent over a list, and I was really, when I saw a list, how many people use the current high school outside of school hours. Those people, the sports groups, the creative groups, theater, music, somehow they should be approached and see, you know, and how much they use the building, how often they're in there. They're going to be, you know, obviously very interested in the new building. And probably community use groups and their contacts would be probably looking at their social media too.
I had a question about that, Ira. Would that be something where we would approach leadership of those groups and
Absolutely.
ask them for like testimonials or to post about it on their social media or on their email distribution? What's the ask, I guess, is my question.
Yeah, I can give you a quick thing. I found it very helpful in 3 other high school projects. Getting these other groups, you tend not to think, everyone thinks that a high school is just kids going to it, which is obviously the most important thing. But sometimes a third or 40% of that building is used by community groups. And getting the heads of those folks to endorse this, seeing how much the improvement's going to be in the new building for them to do what they do in the new building is only going to be an asset. I mean, I could send you examples of kind of letters and they can draft off of if that's you're interested in.
And would that come from, the building committee, town staff? Do we hook them up with the PAC groups?
I would direct everything to the building committee there. So because we're right now organizing all the communication outlets.
Yep.
Through everywhere. And then at the end of the day, after the posting goes, the PAC groups, whoever the interest groups can approach them. And again, it's just getting them to vote. But it's important they understand what's going on. I assume there's people who are part of your group. You probably know some of these people who use the high school.
Yeah.
Probably use all your schools one way or another. But particularly the high school, when I saw the list, how many times it's used, the amount of people, you got the adult ed program in there, you got sports people year round in there. Those are the ones that do it. And think in theater and the arts, they tend to be the most active in high school buildings.
Well, and Ira, it's not just groups that use it now, but potentially groups that could use it in the future. I'll just give the example of Farmington Valley Symphony.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. It's in fact, yeah, there's 2 high schools I know where their local symphony, they use it. Good point.
And we've had, yeah. They've reached out before. They've been involved in keeping an eye on the project, but I think it's time to re-engage. I'm glad you brought that up, Ellen.
Are there any theater groups that use the building now or could get a benefit, use the auditorium now in town? We'll put on plays outside the school.
Like community theater?
Yeah, community theater groups.
Not that I'm aware
of. Okay.
We had dance groups that would use it for recitals, but I think over the years, as it became an issue, the auditorium, they went elsewhere. So we could try to bring it back.
I think that's the overall issue with all groups is the condition of our auditorium and the acoustics and the lack of ADA.
That's a hint. Kathy, do you get requests from people and after they find out, or Scott, and they find out the condition and then they say, I'm sorry, we'll just have to look somewhere else?
We've had some inquiries, Ira, that we couldn't accommodate because of the space, for sure. In my short tenure here, the last year and a half we have as well, prior to COVID.
Are they local people or regional?
Mostly local. Looking to put on. One was theater based and the other was orchestra based.
Again, if you have any of these names of people, letting them know so that they will have available. Kathy, is there a policy about outside groups that need to be, or is that just something later on of using a high school building that there's restrictions and openness, or is it going to be with the new building? Is there going to be some changes to safety and health issues from outside groups going forward? Or it just depends on the status of COVID and everything?
I think that's part of it. Certainly during the pandemic, we have not had the building use we've had in the past. But I would say what Scott is saying is a trend over many years. Sometimes outside groups utilize parts of the high school, but then don't return because of the conditions. So especially, our auditorium and the seating issues, the acoustic issues, and the lack of, accessibility in that space.
Have you looked at, maybe think about revenue generation? I know they don't usually charge a lot. I know here in Glastonbury they charge beyond the custodial fees.
There is a fee to rent our facilities.
Okay. I want to look at the market, see out there what they charge other districts where they're being used to see if you're matching or it can increase it. Something just to think about. I know these are sidebar issues, but they all come to the picture.
I think maybe what we can do is share the list of groups with the building committee to see if anybody's aware of contacts. I think we probably know more than we think we do with our collective knowledge, and see if we can identify some key contacts for some of those other interest groups. So we'll commit to that, getting that list out to the building committee to see if we can, match some names and make some contact there, I think.
And
Just
Meg,
one,
oh,
Scott, do you know when that list will be ready? I know you sent me an email.
Yeah, Ira, I should have it all settled up next day or two for you.
oh, Meg, this is Wendy. Just wanted to mention too, I can ask my school district in Simsbury. We actually rent out our theater and our auditorium to a lot of local Farmington Valley groups. So I can ask about details on that one because hang out there in the music department too.
All right, great.
And I know like Simsbury's out, it's far out there. So something closer, more centralized, I know would be convenient too.
Yeah, be welcome, I think, for people
Yeah.
to have that kind of a resource. Yeah, I think any supplementary information, Wendy, would be great. Thank you. Okay. Anybody have any other thoughts or questions? Last time we kind of talked about that we were going to be very communications based over the next month and a half. So, this is a good conversation to have, and I want to make sure everybody's kind of aware of all the different facets of communication and the approach we're taking here. So please feel free, questions, thoughts, comments. All right, great. So next report out is financial communications, even more communications we're going to talk about. So financial communications subcommittee report. Kat, do you want to do this one as well, just because you were part of the structuring of the financial comment?
No problem. So the financial communications subcommittee recently met, and we finalized the messaging around the cost and the tax impact. This message is how we are collectively, when we're talking about costs, communicating that, because we want to make sure our communication is clear and consistent. So this message is in the newsletter. So I would encourage everybody to read it, make sure you understand it. If you have questions, I'm happy to, dive a little bit deeper and show you how we get to that, because if you have questions or if you're asked questions about it, we want to make sure we're on message, but it's well understood. So please take a look at that, and then that's how we are moving forward communicating cost.
And in addition to that, just so everybody does know, the digital version of the newsletter is out on our website currently. So that's another way for you to access it. Devin, do you have the opportunity? Is it too much to ask for?
Yeah, I can pull it up.
Just so you can see where to find it. I don't think that you have to have access to that piece of paper all the time.
So it is under our latest news section here. It's the most recent news we have. And then
there it is right there. So Devin will zoom out for you. So this is kind of a one-page discussion on the process, as well as the estimated project costs and impact to property tax right there. So this is a really good resource for anybody who wants to share information, obviously for the building committee members, but anybody beyond that, that this information is available, and I think provides a clear message on the impact, but also gives some context and some knowledge around that information as well. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that that is out there. Any questions or thoughts on that right now? And as Kat said, please read it through. If you have questions, she's a valuable resource for us here to be able to, provide further explanation or just get more detail or whatever you might need around it. But I think it's pretty clear as far as really giving the overall picture. All right, any other thoughts or comments, questions about that? All right. Bear with me here. All right, so next order of business is Board of Education Liaison Report. So Beth.
Yep, I'll take that. So all the board members, Ellen's been working with board members to get us scheduled for community meetings to represent the Board of Education. We're definitely looking forward to that process and lending a hand there and showing our support. And Ellen also at our last meeting, just on Monday, walked all the board members and really encouraged them to visit the website, gave the updates, that it's all up to date and there's just such a wealth of information, and encouraged everyone to get more familiar with the project and all of the upcoming events and the timeline, that sort of thing. So, she's spent a lot of time to get everyone up to speed and involved. And that's it.
Great, thank you, Beth. Any questions for Beth? Okay, next item is financial report.
So not much new here. We did one more packet of business reply postage for the survey. It was only $4.23. So that is the change you see reflected in here. I did update the tall timbers marketing that you can see on the bottom of this page here. There's an invoice on this agenda for us to approve. So I did put that in the amount billed to date column. So total on hand that we have is $135,313.92. So we're in good shape.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Kat on the financial report? Okay, next item is state legislative update. So Chris or Mark, anything to report there?
No. Status quo. I'm sorry, Chris. I don't know if you jumped in there. Business as usual. I think industry updates, more of what Richard's been talking about, we're seeing on other projects. We're in a much smaller project, however, still seeing a good 5 to 7% on the buy from the general contractors. And so it's still a favorable market. Project managers look like heroes buying the job out, but really those subcontractors still need the work. So things continue in that trend.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mark. Any questions for Mark? He really kind of covered state, legislative, and industry because I believe Richard had a conflict. Yeah. Richard had a conflict tonight. So any questions around that? If everybody remembers, we really are kind of holding steady on where we are as far as estimates and cost, which I think is the prudent approach. And I think everybody kind of understands we're getting these updates as we go along to hear about the market and the industry, but kind of makes sense for us to stay steady in the plan that we have. Any other questions? All right, next order of business is new business. We actually only have one piece of new business to handle this evening. So could I get a motion to approve the attached invoice from Tall Timbers Marketing in the amount of $5,075?
So moved, Johnny.
I second. It's Wendy.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, unanimously approved. And that brings us to the end of our agenda this evening. So as before I call for the motion to adjourn, just another reminder and a thank you as well for everybody's support as we move into this high level of community engagement. We will get you the resources. We will have as much information as you could need in moving forward in these presentations. But as always, questions, thoughts, comments are welcome, even if it's beyond our conversations in these meetings. So please ask questions or provide your thoughts as we move through this process. So there's going to be a lot going on, but I think this is all great stuff. So, and I think people I'm getting a lot of feedback, a lot of comments, a lot of people interested in our upcoming meetings, which is fantastic. And people want to learn more and want to hear more about the project. So, I think we're really in a great place, great communication that we have, a plan in place, great partners. So I think we're positioned really nicely. Ira's told us several times from timing perspective, we're right where we need to be. And I think having all that in place really shows kind of the hard work, not only right in this moment, but all the work that's been done up until this point. So again, thank you. And can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Johnny.
A second, Wendy.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Excellent. We will adjourn at 7:13.